Attributeless awakenings beyond simulations of selfhood. I'll get into it like this, that for some time I have been wondering about, I guess I could say it, the going-ons of, poetically, the afterlife. And how would I say it? Pretty much, I've been wondering about the evolution of human intelligence. And really, what is going on with the destiny of intelligence? Where is it all going? And I've noticed that just like a person learns language, and there's a dictionary, and let's say a child is born, they learn a new language, they realize how many different words exist in that language. Similarly, when I think about reality, and through the eyes of a philosophically interested individual, I think about how many, just like a person learning a new language, how many words there are that they don't know. Similarly, I think about how many states of being and modes of reality, or even the outcome of reality, are there that we just don't know. As if, imagine, instead of a language made of alphabets, a language made of the periodic table. And so how many types and modes of reality are there? In my, I could say, personal research, and through some experiences in looking at mysticism, I realized that the ancient yogis were living in ways that future generations will probably experience. It's like an archaic revival, but the archaic revival, think of it this way, that history is like a sine wave, it goes up and down. And in the past, they saw life as a dream, and in the future, more and more as we go towards the future, I predict 200 to 400 years, where cyberspace has a sort of positioning in history. Pretty much there's going to come this idea of escaping reality and escaping an artificial reality. fascinating that ancient books like the Upanishads or the Vedas suggest, or at least how I have understood it. Is that as long as there is an attribute, as long as there's a shape and a changing world, reality is conditional. And it's like the only way you could free yourself from a dream is to realize you're not dreaming. Or let's say 400 years from now, or 200 years from now, children are born, and they are born in a reality where they can't tell if the world is, real or if it's cyber. They can't tell apart or discriminate between a digital reality and an actual reality. So let's say a child is born in a cyberspace reality. The reality is so comfortable and, let's say, easy to live in that the person doesn't have a reason to question. And let's say the person dies in that cyberspace reality and suddenly wakes up in this world we're in now. Now, just like somebody, let's say, waking up from, let's say, a video game, let's say that way, it's easy. Somebody is born in a video game, they suddenly, wake up from beyond the video game, they renounce the video game, and they realize reality, an earlier reality. Now let's say reality, this world we're all in now, we suddenly realize this was a dream or a video game. The question would come, what would we wake up from? Or excuse me, what would we awaken to? Let's say in a video game, the person, let's say somebody customized your character and you just log into the game and you're playing that character. Now you log out and you come to a different screen. A different screen of reality. Okay, let me just you know, guys, I think this is going to be a shorter episode. I'll just say this. Attributeless awakenings beyond simulations of selfhood. I'm considering that we start off as a self. The sense of self is conditional to the world. A lot of the attributes we give to the human being is the attributes we find in the environment. And pretty much what the brain is that it's recording, let's say it's accumulating memory sequences and also using the present as a memory, and decisions are being made. For me, I'm thinking, okay, if I was in a video game and I suddenly woke up from it, I'd be here. Then the question comes, alright, I'm here, and if this world was artificial and a simulation, what would I wake up to? And when I consider that in this world, in this physical moment I'm existing now, the meaning of life or the meaning of the world is based on the attributes that are in it. So the question comes that, okay, if a world filled with attributes, a changing dynamic world filled with attributes, is a simulation, or is another way of saying it is hollow or not the original, what would I wake up to? And the question I thought about it at least was like, okay, so attributes here, beyond here, attributeless. Then I thought about, okay, what sort of reality would an attributeless attention have, right? It would be as if like there's nothing needed to be anything. Right now, it's a human being, we need a lot of things to be yourself. A person in the outer realms needs, physical resources, and in the inner realms they need a sort of non-physical engagement. And so I'm thinking that in a world, let's say, where all the different ways that it can happen have been experienced, let's say somehow our species had an ability to experience all the possibilities of its manifestation, and eventually the unmanifest would be left. And to experience the unmanifest is another way of saying to be nothing and everything. It could be that we are nothing, but not nothing in the sense of there being nothing there. More like reality is space's body. And so beyond the body, it's like just space. It's just fascinating with this whole life living as creatures that have no clue what we are. Everything is like, a temporarily valid assumption. When I think about when I was really young, I had no idea, I had no inkling that I would end up in. It was unfathomable, unimaginable. But it's as if once a human being is born, let's say in the video game of life, and you go and accumulate experience and level up, eventually, poetically, the soul wonders why its body and mind are leveling up. I want to go into just sideline into a quote tunnel. The quotes are from a person named Swami Krishnananda. He says, "Do not make the mistake of thinking that the soul is inside you. Because if the soul is inside you, it will be outside it." Swami Krishnananda says the higher awakening is called God consciousness. In that condition, you will see that all the objects of the world are your own universal self. And so keep in mind, guys, when I say attributeless awakenings from simulations, simulations of self, the self is local, it's conditional to a creature on earth, right? It's like we as beings are identifying as, an animal on a rock, wavering in darkness and sunlight. If we were to consider a universal self, the attributes given to the whole universe surpass just a single attribute in it, right? It's as if like there's a system, or I'll say this, it's like when a person's sitting in a car, right? And let's take the car as a metaphor for the individual self. It's like the person is a driver of the vehicle, right? The attributes of the car, like if they speed up, they move alongside with the car. But if somebody is outside a vehicle, right, it's as if the attributes that are found by being inside the vehicle don't apply. It's as if, really conscious life is a vehicle. It's another way of saying, like, in the current time, being a human being is like somebody in a car thinking they are the car. But to go outside and beyond the car, they cannot think as a driver anymore. Right? It's as if the role of meaning changes. So, I'm going to go back to the quote tunnel, but one last comment on the previous quote. Our universal self is the attributeless viewer of the attribute, let's say, filled movement. Swami Krishnananda says, just as when we touch a live wire, the electric force infuses itself into our body. When we deeply meditate on God, the power of the whole universe seeks entry into our personality. You know what he's saying poetically could be said to be a method of conducting divinity. Swami Krishnananda says saints and sages are still alive. Great masters are still operating. It is up to you to find where they are. Swami Krishnananda says we always imagine that the Supreme Being is very far away, many, many millions of light years away, yet it is very near in our throat itself. What man needs is not, Swami Krishnananda says, what man needs is not philosophy or religion in the academic or formalistic sense of the term, but ability to think rightly. The malady of the age is not absence of philosophy or even irreligion, but wrong thinking and the vanity which passes for knowledge. Though it is difficult to define right thinking, it cannot be defined that it is the goal of the aspirations of everyone. Guys, it seems the volume's still low, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the music and I'll listen to it, I guess, on my own way. Alright. Would like to hear music, just you can find any music, ambient song online and just play it in the background with a new tab. But anyways, honestly, I am noticing that it's in the subtitle I've written Yearnings of the Multidimensional. That's really, I guess, where my life has taken me so far. Where it's not just about success and satisfaction in one dimension, but to kind of discover is that if there was no idea, if right now the person, let's say, was speaking and there was no subjectivity, that means imagine a sense of being an individual was so second nature that when people speak in their inner realms, in their thinking process, let's say, they're not going, okay, I am a self, I am speaking now, like it's not robotic, right? Things that we become acquainted with, familiar, and especially we trust, they enter the domain of our second nature, right? A person, let's say, may get nervous going on stage, you know, or let's say talking to people, but when a person is alone, suddenly, you know, they're singing in the shower, right? And it's as if like the notion of them being an individual in a collective setting by us, it's like our individualism is second nature, and when we really trust the moment completely, there's no need for a subjective filter, right? It's as if like the inner realms, like ripples on a pond settle, and let's say the body is in peace. So what I'm saying is, imagine you're sitting somewhere, your body's just here, so you find instant contentment and acknowledgement with it, and then it comes to the nature of your mind or the awareness to your body, and all the thoughts that come and go, you let them freely come and go, and you just trust the moment. It's as if if the human being had 3 dimensions poetically of body, mind, soul, it's like the dimension of body is trusted, so matter is matter, it's just being. The dimension of subjects of mind becomes trusted, right? This is another way of saying you become stationed into the presence that can witness everything. Not everything in the cosmos, but everything in your moment. You become comfortable with how being is being in these dimensions of body, mind, and now I'm going to try to talk about the soul. So, in the dimension of the soul, this is the fascinating thing that I've realized, that the soul doesn't have a location, and if it doesn't have a location, it is free from the world. So it's like at first, let's say traditional spiritual idea is like, I'm a soul, you know, inside a body, and when I move the body, the mind projects. But for me, it's something like this view shifted, this traditional view of the soul moving the body, and what the soul became for me was, believe it or not, a feeling of the inaccessible unknown. I think about the dimensions of my being that are conceivable. I look at my body, it's conceivable. I look at the idea or character in the story of, you know, the subjective realm that I'm in, and it's like that's conceivable. But when I ask myself, what is it that I'm being that I cannot see? That I cannot see the edges of its shape. And the answer to that is that it is the unknown witnessing force that is being our sight. Right? So it's another way of, it's like, imagine somebody's like, okay, let's say somebody's looking at a sunset, and they're like, man, who is looking at the sunset? And then there's somebody who has a question where, who is looking at sight? Right? There's some questions, and this is where I would say the courage of, you know, the continental philosopher shines beyond that. It's simply unknown moments where when the attention realizes it, right? Because think of it this way, if it's inconceivable, it cannot be accessed as a location. And I'm thinking, alright, I'm in this conceivable changing world, and what's going to happen after the dimensions of the body and mind fade. And so in that fading, I am considering that there is something that has to be for anything to be anything at all, right? let's say this Earth we're in, we suddenly realize it is like Earth 722. And so we realize that there's 721 more, Earths that are just, versions of the Earth. Imagine like, the planet was like an onion, and there were like, not the planet, but let's say this experience of conscious world was like an onion, or parallel universes of the Earth were in an onion style, and so there was an inner Earth, an inner Earth, an inner Earth, and eventually it's as if after we've gone through 700 versions of the Earth, and we've come close to finding the original Earth. When we find the original Earth, we find a world that has no comparison. If meaning is comparing two different events, to extract, let's say, a third signifying event. It's like when we awaken to the original Earth, it is simultaneous with the original being. In the religious tradition, the original being is considered as an inconceivable source called God. Let's say you're a secular-minded person, and rather than starting from the freedom of the individual, you're starting from the freedom of, let's say, the planet, and you come to this conclusion that it's like the original universal being. Or let's say if you entertain a multidimensional reality, it's as if the original multidimensional being. Because we're in a changing world, we have to comprehend life as a journey. It's literally a story, right? As long as we have a body and in a changing world, life is a story. Now, what would be the resolution for a character in a story? It's as if on some level we're just atoms in the void, and in another level we are, self-proclaimed characters, So the outer Earth is really, I'll be honest, it's a bit meaningless. Like existence is just here. That's as far as the outer realms goes. But when it comes to the inner realms, it becomes how is the existence here? And when it comes to the soul, right, it's like why is it here? Or I shouldn't say why it is here. Let me say it this way. When it comes to the body, question is how is it here? When it comes to the mind, it's like why is it here? When it comes to the soul, it's like what is here? What is intelligence at all? How can intelligence realize itself? And to me, it feels like not a process where you can keep adding dimensions of meaning, right? So imagine there were two different types of, just for the sake of, I'm trying to create an example where I'm saying, okay, let's say there was multidimensional being A and multidimensional being B. And let's say multidimensional being B was like, adding dimensions, constantly looking for more and more content to kind of comprehend why it's being the initial content, right? So one multidimensional being is looking for new worlds, and the other multidimensional being, let's say multidimensional being A, is just wondering about the first world, the starting point. I mean, the purpose of existence to some degree for the human being is for it to become a film of mind. But let's say a multidimensional being graduated from the school of its mind. In other words, imagine right now as you're hearing my voice, there is a contentment within you of your own universal presence that is not emotionally or any, it's like in an attributeless way, reality, I shouldn't say reality, but it's like being is being content with being. Freedom is another way of saying we're trying to discover the unconditional. Let's say there was a very, very advanced intelligence, and this advanced intelligence, on the level of the body, it was like, okay, I'm beyond the body. It realized it's not a body. Then it realized it's a mind. And then this advanced intelligence realized it's not just a mind. Then it realized poetically it's a soul. And then beyond this, the advanced intelligence realized it is beyond the soul. And really what is beyond the conditional individual human entity is a universal activity. The destiny of the human being physically may appear as to be, continuity, right? It's as if we're a shape that doesn't want to change, till the end of time. But when it comes to being a universal being and the activities of a universal entity, it's like right now we're concerned with what to do in a universe. I have this feeling that in the future we're going to be more concerned with how we are being the universe rather than what to do in it. You see, it's like a relationship of in and out, but you suddenly realize it's like once you're the whole thing, there's no fear. What can you fear? Right? It's like a sort of ultimate being all the dimensions found in the void, in nothing, and all the dimensions found in the world, which is everything. So imagine you're a being that is everything and nothing simultaneously. That means you have the freedom of an attributeless, ever-present freedom, and you also have a sort of freedom of being any attribute in reality. What it is it's a universal space. So it's another way of saying the universe, a universal being is remembering itself out of individualism that's conditional to its immediate view. It's another way of saying we are the ego of the universe. And so it's like the universe is remembering itself beyond its ego, beyond its self-proclaimment of the moment. Pretty much where I feel we're on the road to becoming the universe, but consciously. We used to be the universe unconsciously, and when I say universe, I mean the whole cosmic activity. That means it's like, the power of force, that the moment it can go beyond its conditions, the unconditional, pretty much the intelligence begins to fathom the unconditional. Right? It would be as if like right now, from one side of the coin, I'm like I'm a human being on Earth trying to give like 10,000 talks, but from the other side of the coin, it's like I'm the space where everything that's fathomable has already been done. Right? It's like if I was to consider an instantaneous life purpose, it's completed. But if I was to consider, what does the actor in the film need to do, sort of a life purpose, then it's like, I'm pretty much trying to say maybe in the future the species requires to awaken beyond its mind. In awakening Anyways, back to the quote tunnel. Swami Krishnananda says every object in the world promises satisfaction, but it never gives satisfaction, only promises. Swami Krishnananda says yoga is anything which reveals or reflects the wholeness that we truly are, and the world is anything that makes us feel that we're fragmented, dissected, cut into pieces, and out of tune with ourselves. Swami Krishnananda says the soul's illness is more terrible and more difficult to understand than the illness of the body or any type of malady. Swami Krishnananda says we're in conflict with the world, otherwise there would be no necessity to put forth tremendous effort to meet the world and its demands. This is an incredible point because it's like Swami Krishnananda is saying, if it's like suffering is out of place, the fact that we suffer in reality gives it a defect. And if suffering has this cause, like let's say there's a cause and effect to it, it could be that, let's say in a fathomable timeline, the species never developed language, it never developed technologies, and it just lived with such a simple presence in nature that it was as if being just a world was enough. You know, it's like when being a world is not enough, then you become a doer, you know, incarnate. That means what sort of circumstance would it take to make a human being to be so content with being that it doesn't matter if it's human or not? You know, it's like a lot of people in the New Age community trying to come to the here and now, and I'm trying to say it's like after that you're going to realize it's like the here and now is going to bring us to it, right? It's like we think we are in a world because we identify as separate from it. But if we were not separate with the world, all the associations to who is suffering go away. Let's say there's someone and the person's like, you know, I don't like life, right? But when they suddenly realize they are the life force, it's as if you cannot dislike being. You can like and dislike how things are done, but nobody can dislike being. Like, you know, nobody can just, you know, like imagine somebody's like, I hate, you know, the color blue. Like it's like it's a universal. They call colors are universals in philosophy, meaning it's like its meaning is just immediate. It's like a stable meaning. You know, it's like we're a natural being that used an unnatural method to advance and is now realizing the consequence of the unnatural. Swami Krishnananda says the duty that we owe to the universe is our religion. That means universal responsibility is the greatest religion. Swami Krishnananda says physically you're identical with and inseparable from the cosmic material substance, and socially you're inseparable from the large mass of humanity. Swami Krishnananda says our prosperity, our friends, our bondage, and even our destruction are all in the end rooted in our tongue. I'm going to extend the quote tunnel to a person named Satyananda, Swami Satyananda. And Swami Satyananda says yoga is not an ancient myth buried in oblivion. It is the most valuable inheritance of the present. It is the essential need of today and the culture of tomorrow. Swami Satyananda says yoga nidra is the yoga of aware sleep. In this lies the secret of self-healing. Yoga nidra is a pratyahara technique in which the distractions of the mind are contained and the mind is relaxed. Swami Satyananda says just love, the rest is bullshit. Swami Satyananda says it makes no difference whether you worship God, Jehovah, Allah, Buddha, Christ, or Krishna. It is still and always one and the same God. Swami Satyananda says drugs allow us to taste the beyond but do not make us masters of the transcendental. I think this is a quote that Thomas cannot retract that. I'm extending the quote tunnel to a yogi named Shri Aurobindo. Shri Aurobindo says when the mind is still, then truth gets her chance to be heard in the purity of silence. Shri Aurobindo says an aimless life is always a troubled life. Every individual should have an aim. But do not forget that the quality of your aim will depend on the quality of your life. Your aim should be high and wide, generous and disinterested. This will make your life precious to yourself and to others. Whatever your ideal, it cannot be perfectly realized unless you have realized perfection in yourself. It's another way of saying, like, achievement starts with an inner worthiness and the acceptance of that. I find this to be true. When I think about everything in this world, in this lifetime that I've achieved, it's always, at least from the beginning, it's kind of like, what do you call it? The victory happens in the inner realms first, and then the outer realms has an endless effort. You have an endless effort in the outer realms to work it about. It's like somebody trying to solve a puzzle, and they suddenly see how to solve it, but they haven't solved it yet in the outer realms. So in the inner realms, they function in accordance to the certainty of that self. Shri Aurobindo says the first principle of true teaching is that nothing can be taught. Shri Aurobindo says perfect health, sincerity, honesty, straightforwardness, courage, disinterestedness, unselfishness, patience, endurance, perseverance, peace, calm, self-control are all things that are taught infinitely better by example than by beautiful speeches. Yeah, I mean, of course, like, it's like someone who would learn skydiving better, somebody who skydives or somebody who hears about skydiving. Obviously, direct experiential engagement is the faster route. For me, I've read a lot, but the only thing that's tied down what I've read to my reality is the experiences. Right? I've had moments, I'll show this one. I've had moments where I have been selfless and I have felt that what divinity is just the motion in the moment and how it happens. There has been moments where I knew something was going to happen before it happened, and it happened. But when I say I knew, it's not like, I had a vision. It was you're walking and you suddenly feel like the ground is trembling and some part of you suddenly knows like a herd of buffaloes or wild horses in the distance. There's been moments where I have moved, and sometimes when I draw my art, it's like there is no thought. You know, we are so conditioned to thinking that we have to know what to do before we can do it, that it's like many people don't even try to see if there's another way. I would say that's one of my achievements, that somehow I was foolish enough to trust my selflessness. And in trusting it, I managed to see that a lot of the functions of nature are automated. Right? We fear automation, but at the same time, there's an inner comfort with it. Right? It's as if right now we don't have to think for our heart to beat, our heart just beats. And similarly, when it comes to the divine mysteries of the realm, it's as if you're trying to find, the contentment of a universal being with its own heartbeat. It's more like, the confidence of an instinct rather than the certainty of eons. It's like some things you just know by being because you're being it. Let's say you ask someone, are you being a human being? And they're like, I don't know. Right? It's as if there's an ignorance there of not seeing the instantaneous. And I feel a lot of wisdom is the courage to be aware of what is instantaneously real. I mean, of course, it's natural, right? Life is like, it's made like a video game where you have to complete quests, and greater dimensions don't open up until you complete these quests. It's like a level 1 player cannot think it's like a level 100 player. I mean, seriously, reincarnating souls is like another way of saying pretty much, what I think it is? I think that the ancient yogis were so ahead of our time that they saw our future's future before we existed. It's another way of saying we think it's a straight line from the past to the future, but it's a circle. It's a circular era. That means the past was closer to the future than the present. In some domains. It's like a transcendental being, let's say a transcendental soul, transcending beyond reincarnation. It's like a universal being of nature. We are universal beings because we are being in the same way that the universe is being. And the advantage we have, if you really think about it, like the brain is here to create many universes where are different, we can work differently in, right? This is something where when I say it, like, how would I say it? It's like, how can we have expectations on a massive changing multidimensional system? part of me has a great love for the mecha age in the future. And the mecha age is when technology becomes second nature to our inner ones. It would be another way of saying, like when human beings are walking in, or they're moving in giant robots or anything, it would be like that would be also a time where archetypes and there would be a collective mind who would have access based on archetype. So let's say anybody who was a mother in 400 years from now, or a father, or let's say a mother, let's say, okay, let's say it's the year 2422. 400 to 600, let's say. But let's say it's the year 2522. And in the year 2522, let's say there's this a young girl becomes pregnant and is expected to be a mother, right? And this this new archetype of being a mother, okay? Or okay, here, let's say there's a single father. A single father doesn't know how to be a single father, just connects to this technology, cyber technology, where every person who is entertaining the father archetype has access to each other's information. Technology is going to create a master race, a master psychological race of humans. So what I mean by that is that really the efficiency of our decisions come from how much information we have before we make the decision. If we find an access to a collective field of intelligence, it's as if we are being more information before we absorb very certain information. What I'm trying to say is the era of collective minds is going to happen, and when that happens, all our prejudices are going to go away, and we are very privileged as a species, as the human species, to already have access to a collective biological mind. I have this, you could say, let's just, to be safe, let's say I am theorizing that every human being ever, or let me say every human being that is alive right now, just like a bunch of players in the same server, every human being right now has access to every human being. So I'm talking in a mystical sense. It's like at the edge of our natural minds. The human species is being developed. Really, the question comes, what are we suffering for in manifestation? Why the constant, peaks and troughs of being an entity? And really, this may not be a pleasant statement to hear, but in some sense it's making sense to me, that death is the submission of individualism to collectivism, which is another way of saying a part of the picture returned into being the whole picture. Beyond this life, we find ourselves in the perspective surface of the ocean horizontally in a horizontal dimension of the sun. The nature of multidimensionality means that you cannot get convinced by the perceptions of one dimension. That means this whole time that we have been human beings on Earth, we have simultaneously also not been human beings on Earth. Or like the, majestic presence of an intelligent universal activity. The future, whether good or bad, it's conditions that either there's acceptance or escapism. Fight or flight, right? When the fight happens, a person literally gets courage or strength. It's like when they accept the circumstance. When I say accept the circumstance, accepting that they are present in it. Not a concept, but when we move as an object, concepts relate. Right now, as I'm speaking, I am being a simulation of a self. And this simulation of the self is like wondering if attention is in a world, where is the world? And just intuitively, I feel that it's like the world is sandwiched between lesser and greater dimensional eyes. It's like the eyes of greater dimensions are on the other side of the coin. So on this side of the coin, individual shapes. On the other side of the coin, collective space. Beyond this life, there is a return to that collective space. The assurance and certainty of that collective space. And let me go back to this futuristic idea that there's going to be collective minds, archetype to be categorized in the future. But now let's think beyond the archetypal category and be like, okay, let's say in 700 years from now, individualism is obsolete, and so human beings are alive. There's individual human beings with bodies, but these individual human beings, in some sense, are not individual subjectively. That means it's as if, like, in the year 2722, if one person, let's say, falls down and suffers, and then the question comes, who is suffering? The answer would be the whole species. It would be the fulfillment of the destiny of what empathy is a preview to in 2022. So what I'm saying is, because we are subjectively separate, there is a possibility to feel alone in a cosmic event that is happening at once. In the future, you're not going to even have the privilege to experience loneliness. Their eyes are not going to identify with just the symbolism of a name or a subjective category, but the whole movement, pretty much. It would be the awakening of the named individual human being to the presence of the species being. That means literally spelled species dash being. A type of being that is the being that experience of the whole species. That means if right now, whoever you are listening to me, imagine you were everybody's mind at the same time. There would be no you. So really what identity is limited information identification. To be a philosopher is like to be a soldier or a commander in the battlefield between the known and the unknown. That means we find ourselves in a moment where stuff happens, and if we can recognize it, it's a known where you are, and if we can't recognize it, it's not known where you are. Now, if we have a collective mind, let's say the collective mind of the species, we would know everything that every human being is experiencing. But if we had the collective mind, a planetary collective mind, that would be as if we are within the scope of our attention, but would be able to experience everything that is happening on the planet at once, and it would be inconceivable. Because when multiple dimensions try to be one dimensions, they either become empty. It's like multiple people trying to be one person, like there's an impossibility to it. Unless they don't identify as people. That means there is strangely great intelligent phases of history, of human history in the future that will not activate until the species surpasses its obsession with individualism, right? That means good and evil is a sign that a species has not matured beyond two ways of saying something. Infinity, they don't say this, but the idea of infinity is one of the guardian angels of the species. That means infinity. Okay, here, I'll be poetic. I'll say these words are kind of like, guardian concepts or guardian angel, guardian angelic concepts of the human species. Okay? For example, we have the idea of infinity, which goes to time. We have the idea of technology. We have the idea of, let's say, happiness and joy and peace. And then we have the idea of transcendence. It's as if the conscious material, if the conscious simulation of life was a vehicle, it's like these are the ways we can move in the vehicle. Right now, I can choose to accept that I am just wherever I am in the presence of the moment. I can choose to view the moment as a singular event. That means there is no Mr.Within, there is no human species, there is nothing other than everything being at once. And then I could have this view that right now I am no quite hilariously, just like, it's like Arya Stark from Game of Thrones, like became a yogi, right? Pretty much became a yogi, where it was as if like, just like the girl is no one, similarly the self is not stuff. Thing our species can do right now, and this is one person's opinion, of course, but maybe one person's opinion could be useful. It has to use what it is given, and the assumption that the world is going to remember what happens to it can't be considered. That means we can't make an ultimatum about this. That means just like every day happens once, the potential of every moment wants and what greatness is the potential of history, right? That means all the greatest human beings on the planet, they are the greatness of the species. There is no individual greatness really. The future generations may want to escape, let's say, artificial paradises in let's say in cyberspace futures, but the moment they escape those simulations, they're going to realize what an incredible feat it was that they managed to create it, right? It's like the yogis wanted to escape out of the dream of samsara, the material world, not realizing it's at the moment they escape from it. This is, I think, the kind of poetically play for the end, attributeless consideration. That means it's like if a multidimensional being was remembering beyond the single dimension, it would be fascinated by how that single dimension came into being. Just like there's this view that when somebody has something, they take it for granted. When it goes away, they suddenly feel like they suddenly revalue it again, or their attention goes back to it. It's like beyond this world, we're going to suddenly realize how fascinating and incredible this world was, and how little the human species' potential activated when we were alive. And that's the task. That means if there's any multidimensional, let's say, beings in this universal sector, any advanced sort of intelligence present in this world, it's as if the most obvious task is to actualize really what the purpose of, like I'll be pointing here, the purpose of the human is to actualize the imagination of God. It's another way of saying we are here to show the universe what it's got. The purpose of man is the actualization of the most advanced potential. That means really what else can we do in the middle of nowhere? I mean, sure, we have so many storylines, so many different cultures, it's like, somebody wanted to read all the history books ever written, it would be kind of like a timeless task. And so similarly, in the middle of nothing, what can we do with everything? And I feel if people meditate on this sentence, you will discover your genius, your inner genius, and your inner genius is vision. That means to me, it's like there's tagline, it's like to advance civilization in one lifetime, to subjectively shift from being a statistic, and it's as if the species identifies with the archetype of the commander of the future generations. Everybody in the species. That means imagine everybody wanted to see the advanced potential of everything all the time. You would suddenly snap out of it's a beyond samsara task, which by the nature of our attention going there we are. To the future generations that may hear this talk, if you are any conscious entity that finds yourself in a simulation, or you're convinced that reality is a simulation, the way out is from within, which is another way of saying lies within the know-how of how to do things. And so it's another way of saying simulations start when a multidimensional being doesn't trust itself. But when a multidimensional being, or when whatever you are, trusts its core, that means you don't just trust your body, you don't just trust your mind, you trust how you're inconceivable, being both of them at the same time. Then you will see advancement is the advanced human's activity. The advancement of humanity is the discovery that the nature of our minds are dehumanized, the nature of our body is humanized, and beyond these there is a sort of moving force. And for me, I would say even now as I'm speaking, like one of the biggest challenges in this lifetime for me is how, well, it's really my relationship with the unknown. You know, it's like, playfully saying, I can say the young soul has a relationship with knowledge, but the old soul has a relationship with the unknowledge. You know, it's like a yogi is a very knowledgeable person. You know, guys, I'm just gonna use the laptop's microphone. I don't know what else to do. Like, I thought buying a microphone would be better, but it seems like I was wrong. Okay. So my laptop screen is inches away from my face. I don't know. Hopefully this is better. Sorry guys, this was on mute. I was saying, the last thing I said was that universal beings have lineages, but the difference is that their lineages are timeless. As if the God of this world, the God that created this world, was previously inside the creation of another God. It's like I'm saying God's mind was inside another God's mind, and it's another way of saying that the force, a sort of infinite force, and an infinitely able force, chose limitation to see. It's pretty much like, I guess playfully I'm saying this, and respectfully, but from a philosophical angle, I guess, or let's say theological angle, it's as if God is testing himself by testing man that is the creation of himself. It's like an infinite quality check. It's as if poetically the truth of greater dimensions is waiting to see if we can be it. You know, imagine a universal story where everybody in that story was being tested by the God of that universe to be the next God. That means imagine out of all the beings or transmigratory souls in the realm, it's like one of them is going to be chosen to become God, right? So now imagine the God of this universe being that, right? It would be another way of saying an individual lived in a collective system until it realized it's a collective, and then once it realized it's the collective, now it experiences the individual system. It's another way of saying our human individualism in 2022 is being conducted by a collective and individual system that became collective. I gave a talk on this actually, Ghost of Civilizations Past. That means a previous civilization before the human civilization attained a collective checkpoint. And it's another way of saying we are in the mind of the individuals that became gods eons before the human species was like, what's up? You know? I feel like reading more quotes, mystical quotes. I want to get into that. Shri Aurobindo says, in order to see, you have to stop being in the middle of the picture. Shri Aurobindo says, a quiet mind does not mean that there will be no thoughts or mental movements at all, but that these will be on the surface, and you will feel your true being within, separate from them, observing but not carried away. Exactly. Wow. This quote is literally what I've been trying to say in so many episodes. This guy got it right. In a world beyond duality. Shri Aurobindo says our actual enemy is not any force exterior to ourselves, but our own crying weaknesses, our cowardice, our selfishness, our hypocrisy, our purblind sentimentalism. Yeah, he's saying the person's suffering is starting from how their inner realm is starting a relationship with their outer realms. That means who you think you are. That means like, aside from like you hearing my talk, who you are before you hear my talk suggests what you're going to get out of the talk. You know? Aurobindo says the whole world yearns after freedom, yet each creature is in love with his chains. This is the first paradox and inextricable knot of our nature. Yeah, that means it's like we're trying to be free from our inner realms, but we love how it's keeping our world. Aurobindo says true knowledge is not attained by thinking. It is what you are, it is what you become. Sri Aurobindo says live within, be not shaken by outward happenings. That's what I'm trying to make clear for the future generations caught in cyberspace that may hear this talk one day. You know, and it's not that it's like, you know what it is? It's like saying like, okay, something bad's gonna happen, but it's based on how able the individuals are. What I've realized is that the nature of a lot of how wisdom happens for people is that they learn from their mistakes, and it could be a mistake that we are taking the sophistication of our world for granted. We are making it small so that we can, be happy in it, but it's as if like, what if happiness is a distraction from truth? What if, like Sri Aurobindo was saying, like it's like when somebody loves their chains, how can they become free from it, right? It's as if it's like, what are we loving and what is love in actuality? On some level we say it's the relationship between factors, but on another level it seems like how truth has recognized itself. That means it's as if like there's the concept of true love, and then there's a concept, the truth of love. The truth of love, which is an incredible title for an episode. The truth of love it could be unconditional. And if all the human beings that are alive right now could find, I don't know, I just feel like there's something great, there's a great potential, and how do we actualize it? How do 8 billion creatures trapped in a linguistic simulation find a way to free themselves from their language chains and to discover that the actual purpose of the human species is the advancement of the species? For too long we have disconnected ourselves from the value of our species. That means it's as if when we called ourselves human, right, and then we shaped ourselves into individuals with attributes, then we kind of separated ourselves from how we're being similar. You know how many human beings on this planet have fought over like skin color, not realizing like every person is actually red, right? It's like the color of the 70% of the body being liquid. we are it's as if we are beyond color. We are beyond names and stories. We are the mysteries of a world that has appeared to itself. And when we forget this, we become attached to the hollow. We become attached to the empty. That means the failure of a multidimensional being is its reliance on a single dimension for its meaning. There are unknown dimensions, pretty much, there is unknown potential to everything that's being. And the purpose of a multidimensional life is to experience all these dimensions. Like, why else would we be in a sort of game of the world where there's dimensions on it? Like, I'll continue with the quote tunnel. Aurobindo says each victory gained over oneself means new strength to gain more victories. Aurobindo says when we have passed beyond knowings, then we shall have knowledge. Aurobindo says when reason with a capital R, when reason died, then wisdom was born with a capital R. Aurobindo says the divine truth is greater than any religion or creed or scripture or idea or philosophy. Yeah, because it's like what's outside of what we know. Aurobindo says everyone has in him something divine, something his own, a chance of perfection and strength in however small a sphere which God offers him to take or refuse. I'll read that again. Everyone has in him something divine, something his own, a chance of perfection and strength in however small a sphere which God offers him to take or refuse. The task is to find it, develop it, and use it. The chief aim of education should be to help the growing soul to draw out that in itself which is best and make it perfect for a noble use. That noble use is building an advanced civilization. I am telling you, I feel like such an early bird because it's like that's the ultimate conclusion of manifestation. That means it's like a shape in the void. It's like, why am I here? Oh yeah, to see how far this can go. That means whoever that is listening to this do owe it to the future. Imagine like billions of people in the future are watching us now, waiting to see who that is alive now will in some sense advance the most. And it's not a comparative thing, it's more like the victory of every member of our species is like the victory of the species. That's when we're ready for an advanced civilization. Aurobindo says peace is the first condition without which nothing else can be stable. What a great sentence. It is true, I guess, if a person is not peaceful, they'll be trapped in a simulation of war for eons. That could make sense. Aurobindo says the all-embracing vast being which is there behind the play of the universe and with which you will have to identify yourself, for this is your true self. It's kind of like, I guess mysticism is another way of saying, truth is waiting to remember itself. And what truth is, at least the clues I have found, is a sort of poetically modern mystical researcher. The freedom that we seek is the advancement of being. Any being that is being, it's like to be able to build an advanced civilization without forgetting what we are. That means that human beings need to have such an incredible respect for all dimensions of their perception. That means no emotional reaction to anything. I shouldn't say no emotional reaction, but I would say it like this, more like every dimension that is perceivable by you, it's as if you accept it. Let's say just like, parents accept their children. The human mind requires to accept the dimensions it has birthed, the dimensions it has brought forth, and now they act on their own. to fall in love with not our eyes but their source, to fall in love with the source of sight and intelligence. Shri Aurobindo says, a God who cannot smile could not have created this humorous universe. Shri Aurobindo says, love is the keynote, joy is the music, knowledge is the performer, the infinite all is the composer and audience. Guys, if Shri Aurobindo was alive right now, I'd totally, interview him. Can you imagine in some parallel reality, like I'm just thinking of this hilarious thing where somebody's a podcaster and they have this episode and they're like, all right everybody, for in today's podcast I'm going to be interviewing my future self. And imagine somebody asks their future self, it's like, is there love in the future? And the future self says that's all there is. The love of being. It's as if you start off first loving being, then being love. And then once you've been that for a while, then mind seeks freedom beyond the dimensions of its perception. Really, the human species is like a bunch of explorers with lanterns and, a dark forest. Everybody I find needs to attempt to see as far as they can see and report back to the species. To serve the world or maybe I could say it, to serve the world of worlds. It's as if poetically, from a, theological perspective again, God is waiting to see if we notice it's all God from the beginning. It's all, unknown mover in knowledge. The unknown mover of knowledge. The unknown is a way to see, not our real eyes, but I would say true eyes of reality. Because really, it's all about whether we're a main character in the world we're living in or not. If we're not a main character, then it's another way of saying that it's not our world. So the future generations have nothing to fear, and even if they fear they're in a simulation, or if you're in a simulation and you can't get out of it, the idea is to, rather than escaping the simulation, to become fascinated with why it's there. That means it's like anybody who has a problem, just become fascinated, maybe give this a try, become fascinated with why it exists. Imagine, here's a fiction, I'll create a story here. Let's say somebody goes to heaven, enters the pearly gates, and then God looks at him and says, when the person's in heaven, God looks at him and says, how was it? And the person in heaven says, before I could. The nature of truth is that it's the top of the hierarchy. As if the purpose of ambition is realization. An advanced civilization is the infinite smile of a species in the world. And you know, when you think of the actualization of advanced potential, how would I say it? It's like it's like greatness is the greatest idea. It's like advancement is the most advanced outcome. That means if human beings just have an intent that something incredibly advanced is possible for the species, I think that's enough to bring, like, it's like how we live today is becoming the motivation for future generations. We gotta start behaving like universal beings. Can you imagine, like, aliens land on Earth and then they're like, what kind of beings are you? And we're like, man, we're such universal beings that you guys aren't even aliens. We're more enlightened than aliens. Can you imagine? Aliens land on Earth and we're teaching them yoga. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna see what else there is to say before I end this off. Yearnings of the multidimensional. I would say it's just trusting the unknown. Trusting the unknown. That's the only thing that could be said about, like, a multidimensional being's yearning for something more. It's like when you can trust the unknown, then you are free beyond knowledge. It's literally the only thing. Like, everybody's trying to trust in the right information, right? The species is identified with information, but imagine trusting the unknown. Because I'm honestly thinking about this, that if I didn't trust the unknown, I would have never given these talks. There was a feeling in me that it's like, because the world is mysterious, there's nothing wrong with, wondering about it. That means behind our eyes, it's like when that time comes where behind our eyes we're universal beings and in front of our eyes we're in it, then it's as if it's like we are psychologically free. It's another way of saying energy attains a mastery beyond personality. Anyways, thanks for listening, guys, and when you awaken from attributes, a simulation that's filled with attributes, let's say, that give rise to selfhood, it's attributeless. So I guess anybody who has a philosophical interest, maybe comment below how you perceive the attributeless or unknown, like in the video section, in the comment section. Anyways, thanks for listening, guys. Laptops at 7%, 6%, right? Much blessings and else.